Welcome, folks. H. Williams here. H. Will to most. I'm here to bring you a special presentation of the Cooper Matrix. Now, I had this corny idea. Apparently, so I can be off camera while I'm talking, folks, but I had this corny idea of having a certain shirt on when the show actually started. But silly goose me, when the time comes, I totally space on the idea, realize that I don't have the shirt on, and I'm now struggling to find said shirt. Silly duck me. Now, I'm not sure what happened here, but maybe I should just let it go for now and just get on with the show. But anyway, let's get into it. Well, basically, folks, I wanted to start back up the Cooper Matrix. And we're talking about, of course, William Cooper. Now, let's go ahead and get one thing right out of the way here while we are here. You may be wondering, what is that picture that you have there? Normally, you've had pictures of William Cooper when you did the True Sessions before. Why not have a picture of William Cooper now? But, that is William Cooper. In fact, that is William Cooper on a patrol boat when he was in the military himself. The Navy, as a matter of fact. Naval intelligence, you know what I'm saying, it would be the eventual term, which I believe it shouldn't be that far off. As a matter of fact, it's right on the next page. William Cooper as a naval intelligence is presented with the Medal with Combat V CIN CPA CFLT headquarters 1970. The Naval Commendation Medal with Combat. Okay. So once again, folks, we're back into the Cooper Matrix, and we're talking about the controversial, almost, prophetic information that came along from William Cooper. So now, I'm trying to see here if we can get to some table of contents, possibly. I thought there might have been, but let's just see. We got a forward here, but so let's just see. Maybe the back here. Okay, well, let's try to go through it here. So chapter 1, we have silent weapons for quiet wars. Chapter 2, we have secret societies and the New World Order. Chapter 3, simply is a very short one called, well, let's just go ahead and get through that real quick. Chapter 3 is a very short one, so I think we should go ahead. Oath of initiation of an unidentified secret order. From a mother who states that her son took this oath and who must remain unidentified. And Congressional Record, House 1913, page 3216, furnished by Dr. Ron Brown. And there's a quote here, "Not yet, O freedom, close thy lids in slumber, for thine enemy never sleeps." Author's note. Author being, of course, William Cooper, saying that the author makes no claims whatsoever regarding this oath. It was handed to me by a woman who claimed that her son took this oath. Another source, Dr. Ron Brown, independent of and not known by the first, furnished a copy of the Congressional Record of the House of Representatives dated February 15th, 1913, where the same oath is entered as purported to be of the Knights of Columbus. The congressman may have been wrong, however, since the content indicates that this oath may belong either to the Society of Jesus, otherwise known as the Jesuits, or the Knights of Malta, which is the militia of the Pope. I include this oath only as an example that such oaths do in fact exist and are subversive. Because the impeccably correct and difficult level of English used, the obvious expert knowledge of religious terminology and form, and the content and format of this oath, I consider it highly unlikely that it is a forgery. You must be the ultimate judge of its authenticity. The truth will win. So here's the oath itself here, folks. I state your name. Now in the presence of Almighty God, the blessed Virgin Mary, the blessed Saint John the Baptist, the holy apostles, Saint Peter and Saint Paul, and all the saints, sacred host of heaven, and to you, my ghostly father, the superior general of the Society of Jesus, founded by Saint Ignatius Loyola, and the pontification of Paul III, and continued to the present, do by the womb of the Virgin, the matrix of God, and the rod of Jesus Christ, declare and swear that His Holiness the Pope is Christ's vice regent and is the true and only head of the Catholic or universal church throughout the earth, and that by virtue of the keys of binding and loosing given His Holiness by my Savior Jesus Christ, He hath power to depose heretical kings, princes, states, commonwealths, and governments, and they may be safely destroyed. Therefore, to the utmost of my power, I will defend this doctrine and His Holiness's right and custom against all usurpers of the heretical Protestant authority, whatever, especially the Lutheran Church of Germany, Holland, Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, and the now pretended authority of the churches of England and Scotland, and the branches of the same now established in Ireland and on the continent of America and elsewhere, and all adherents in regard that they may be usurped and heretical, opposing the Sacred Mother Church of Rome. I do now denounce and disown any allegiance as due to any heretical king, prince, state, named Protestant or liberals, or obedience to any of their laws, magistrates, or officers. I do further declare that the doctrine of the churches of England and Scotland, of the Calvinists, Huguenots, and others of the name of Protestants or Masons will to be damnable, and themselves to be damned who will not forsake the name. I do further declare that I will help assist and advise all or any of His Holiness's agents in any place where I should be, in Switzerland, Germany, Holland, Ireland, or America, or any other kingdom or territory I shall come to, and do my utmost to extirpate the heretical Protestant or Masonic doctrines and to destroy all of their pretended powers, legal or otherwise. I do further promise and declare that notwithstanding I am dispensed with to assume any religion heretical for the propagation of the Mother Church's interests, to keep secret and private all her agents' counsels from time to time, as they entrust me, and not to divulge directly or indirectly by word, writing, or circumstances whatever, but to execute all that should be proposed, given in charge, or discovered unto me by you, my ghostly father, or any of the sacred order. Wow, we're almost done here. Okay, I do further promise and declare that I will have no opinion or will of my own or mental reservation whatsoever, even as a corpse or cadaver, parend a cadaver, but will unhesitatingly obey each and every command that I may receive from my superiors in the militia of the Pope and of Jesus Christ, that I will go to any part of the world whithersoever I may be sent, to the frozen regions of the north jungles of India, to the centers of civilization of Europe, or to the wild haunts of the barbarous savages of America, without murmuring or repining, and will be submissive in all things whatsoever communicated to me. I do further promise and declare that I will, when opportunity presents, make and wage relentless war secretly and openly against all heretics, Protestants, and Masons, and as I am directed to do, and extirpate them from the face of the whole earth, and that I will spare neither age, sex, or condition, and that I will hang, burn, waste, boil, fillet, strangle, and bury alive these infamous heretics, rip up the stomachs and wombs of their women, crush their infants' heads against the walls in order to annihilate their you know what I'm saying? Excuse me, as in order to annihilate their execrable, execrable race. Now, execrable. That when the same cannot be done openly, I will secretly use the poisonous cup, the strangulation cord, the steel, excuse me, the steel of the poniard or the leaden bullet, regardless of the honor, rank, dignity, or authority of the persons, whatever may be their condition in life, either public or private, as I at any time may be directed to do so by any agents of the Pope or Superior of the Brotherhood of the Holy Father of the Society of Jesus, in confirmation of which I hereby dedicate my life, soul, and all corporal powers, and with the dagger which I now receive, I will subscribe my name written in my blood in testimony thereof, and I should prove false or weaken in my determination. And should I prove false or weaken in my determination, may my brethren and fellow soldiers of the militia of the Pope cut off my hands and feet and my throat from ear to ear, my belly opened and sulfur burned therein, with all the punishment that can be inflicted upon me on earth, and my soul shall be tortured by demons in eternal hell forever. That I will, in voting, always vote for a K of C in preference to a Protestant, especially a Mason, and that I will leave my party so to do that if two Catholics are on the ticket, I will satisfy myself which is the better supporter of Mother Church and vote accordingly. That I will not deal with or employ a Protestant if in my power to deal with or employ a Catholic. That I will place Catholic girls in Protestant families. That a weekly report that may be made of the inner movements of the heretics. That I will provide myself with arms and ammunition, that I may be in readiness when the word is passed, or I am commanded to defend the church, either as an individual or with the militia of the Pope. All of which that I state your name, do swear by the blessed Trinity and the blessed sacrament, which I am now to receive, to perform and on part to keep this my oath. In testimony hereof, I take this most holy and blessed sacrament of the Eucharist, and witness the same further with my name written with the point of this dagger dipped in my own blood and sealed in the face of this holy sacrament. That is the oath of initiation of an unidentified secret order. Now, again, it goes with the same thing that we were starting up here in the first chapter. It's just this oath that says, that basically just kind of confirms for us that these people go into these societies knowing full well that they are going to basically forego and bypass and move beyond any of the Constitution, Bill of Rights, anything that we establish here. They're going to blow right past it. It doesn't matter to them at the end of the day. And that needs to be heard. So, man, I gotta admit, folks, I really would like to find that shirt if I can. It's really weighing on my head right now that I just can't seem to find it anywhere. But I also do not want to be muddling up the actual show here. I don't want to do that, so I apologize for dropping out of sight. But it's like having a prop and you don't have your prop anymore. You would like to find your prop, and it's sort of weird that at the odds of time when you really want to get your hands on that, You can't seem to locate it anywhere you look. It's just a thing that vexes you here, folks. But I'm gonna have to deal for right now. Sorry, but I'm back. Now back to the now. Does the author's note about the other information? Now I do recognize this document. Now the document that we're speaking about is speaking about back to silent weapons for quiet wars. Because now that you have this in now, I think now some people might say, well, it might be now he's basically trying to do the due diligence here. Now there's so many people who say and claim that William Cooper just made all these definitive statements saying what he said, and just kind of sticking by it. As I read in the oath, when I was reading the oath, he basically made sure to say, hey, I'm not saying that this particular oath is valid. They definitely have some valid points to it, but it was given to him by somebody who claims that their son took this oath. And that there's also information connected that seems to validate this information. And again, whether it's wrong or not, he's making sure to at least say something to say that, hey, check it out, question everything, check it for what it is, folks. But I do recognize this document based upon the document's own admission as a formal declaration of war by the Illuminati upon the citizens of the United States of America. I acknowledge that a state of war exists and has existed between the citizens of the United States of America and the Illuminati aggressor based upon this recognition. I present to you that the peaceful citizens of this nation are fully justified in taking whatever steps may be necessary, including violence to identify, counterattack, and destroy the enemy. I base this statement upon the God-given right of any peaceful people to defend themselves against attack and destruction by any enemy waging war against them. I cite the principles outlined in the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution of the United States of America, and the fully recognized and acknowledged historical precedents that have served as a justification for the destruction of tyrants. So basically, folks, what William Cooper is saying once again is that, hey, if you know, and what we're saying is here that the information in Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, essentially information here that is essentially letting you know, hey, somebody's waging war against you. What are you going to do? Are you going to fight back? Are you going to sit here and not believe it until it kind of creeps up on you and there's nothing that you can do at all? Are you going to stand up here? What are you going to do? That becomes the big question of the day here. But let's just see here. One moment. In and out. Folks, got to tell you, because since we're here, I hate to be the one to be a, let's see. Let's try out Leaders of Tomorrow. Let's see how that grabs you real quick while we check on something. Well, thank you very much, folks. That once again was Leaders of Tomorrow. I think it was kind of appropriate for what we're trying to be here at Mainframe Media and Delinquent Studios. I think that, we are trying to be the leaders of tomorrow. Although we're not the, young teens of today, but we certainly still are the leaders of tomorrow. But let's just see. Now, a quick historical introduction, very quickly, that silent weapon technology has evolved from operations research, a strategic and tactical methodology developed under military management. That's under Eisenhower in England during World War II. The original purpose of operations research was to study the strategic and tactical problems of air and land defense with the objective of effective use of limited military resources against foreign enemies. Logistics. It was soon recognized by those in positions of power, the Council on Foreign Relations, that the same methods might be useful for totally controlling a society, but better tools were necessary. Social engineering, the analysis and automation of a society, requires the correlation of great amounts of constantly changing economic information. So a high-speed computerized data processing system. Okay, let me run that by you one more time. So a high-speed computerized data processing system was necessary, which could race ahead of the society and predict when society would arrive for capitulation. Relay computers were too slow, but the electronic computer invented in 1946 by J. Presper Eckert and John W. Mauchly filled the bill. The next breakthrough was the development of the simplex method of linear programming in 1947 by the mathematician George B. Dantzig. Then in 1948, the transistor, invented by J. Bardeen, W. H. Brattain, and W. Shockley, promised great expansion of the computer field by reducing space width and power requirements. With these three inventions under their direction, those in positions of power strongly suspected that it was possible for them to control the whole world with the push of a button. Immediately, the Rockefeller Foundation got in on the ground floor by making a 4-year grant to Harvard College, funding the Harvard Economic Research Project for the study of the structure of the American economy. 1 year later, in 1949, the United States Air Force joined in. In 1952, the original grant period terminated, and a high-level meeting of the elite was held to determine the next phase of social operations research. The Harvard Project had been very fruitful, as is borne out of the publication of some of its results in 1953, suggesting the feasibility of economic social engineering studies in the structure of American economy, copyright 1953, by Wassily Leontief, International Sciences Press Incorporated, White Plains, New York. Engineered in the last half of the decade of the 1940s, the new quiet war machine stood, so to speak, in sparkling gold-plated hardware on the showroom floor by 1954. With the creation of the Master in 1954, the promise of unlocking unlimited sources of fusion atomic energy from the heavy hydrogen in seawater and the consequent availability of unlimited social power was a possibility only decades away. The combination was irresistible. The Quiet War was quietly declared by the international elite, Bilderberg Group, at a meeting held in 1954. Although the silent weapons system was newly exposed 13 years later, the evolution of the new weapons system has never suffered any major setbacks. This volume marked the 25th anniversary of the beginning of the Quiet War. Already, this domestic war has had many victories on many fronts throughout the world. In 1954, it was well recognized by those in positions of authority that it was only a matter of time, only a few decades before the general public would be able to grasp and upset the cradle of power, for the very elements of the new silent weapon technology were as accessible for a public utopia as they were for providing a private utopia. The issue of primary concern, that of dominance, revolved around the subject of the energy sciences. Energy is recognized as the key to all energy on Earth. Natural science is the study of the sources and control of natural energy, and social science, theoretically expressed as economics, is the study of the sources and control of social energy. Both are bookkeeping systems. Mathematics is the primary energy science. And the bookkeeper can be king if the public can be kept ignorant of the methodology of the bookkeeping. All science is merely a means to an end. The means is knowledge. The end is control. The end always justifies the means. Okay, beyond this remains only one issue. Who will be the beneficiary? In 1954, this was the issue of primary concern. Although the so-called moral issues were raised, in view of the law of natural selection, it was agreed that a nation, a world of people who will not use their intelligence are no better than animals who do not have intelligence. Such people are beasts of burden and stakes on the table by choice and consent. Consequently, in the interest of the future world order, peace, and tranquility, it was decided to privately wage a quiet war against the American public, with an ultimate objective of permanently shifting the natural and social energy wealth of the undisciplined and irresponsible many into the hands of the self-disciplined, responsible, and worthy few. In order to implement this objective, it was necessary to create, secure, and apply new weapons, which, as it turned out, were a class of weapons so subtle and so sophisticated in their principle of operation and public appearance as to earn for themselves the name silent weapons. In conclusion, the objective of economic research, as conducted by the magnates of capital, banking, and the industries of commodities, goods, and services, is the establishment of an economy which is totally predictable and manipulable. In order to achieve a totally predictable economy, the low-class elements of society must be brought under total control, i.e., housebroken, trained, and assigned a yoke and long-term social duties from a very early age before they have an opportunity to question the propriety. Let me calm down, because sometimes I can go a little fast, folks, and try to get all this information out. Ask me to calm down. Breathe. Housebroken, trained, and assigned a yoke and long-term social duties from a very young age before they have an opportunity to question the propriety of the matter. In order to achieve such conformity, the lower-class family unit must be disintegrated by a process of increasing preoccupation of the parents, and the establishment of government-operated daycare centers for the occupationally orphaned children. Mm, mm. The quality of education given to the lower class must be of the poorest sort, so that the moat of ignorance isolating the inferior class from the superior class is and remains incomprehensible to the inferior class. So again, folks, I want to take a moment and let you know he's not making a racial thing about this. He's not saying black people, Latin people, Asian people, anything like that. He's saying the lower class people, the people who have bloodlines and gain wealth, whatever race you are. If you're considered in that lower class, they're making sure that you receive the poorest education. This is what he said. I mean, folks, let's confirm on this very quickly. I want to be clear. I want to be clear on this. Copyright 1991, folks. 1991. We're talking about, I hadn't even become a teenager yet when this book, when this book was copyrighted. I wasn't even a teenager yet. This is letting you know, folks. I mean, this is really this is really putting the glaring eye on what we've been saying for the longest time. This is what this man was saying in the early 90s, folks. The early 90s of what the Quiet War plan was, folks. This was the plan. Okay, with such an initial handicap, even bright lower class individuals have little, if any, hope of extricating themselves from their assigned lot in life. This form of slavery is essential to maintaining some measure of social order, peace, and tranquility for the ruling upper class. Descriptive introduction of the silent weapon. Everything that is expected from an ordinary weapon is expected from a silent weapon by its creators, but only in its own manner of junctioning. It shoots situations instead of bullets, propelled by data processing instead of chemical reaction or an explosion, originating from bits of data instead of grains of gunpowder, from a computer instead of a gun, operated by a computer programmer instead of a marksman, under the orders of a banking magnate instead of a military general. It makes no obvious explosive noises because no obvious physical or mental injuries, or causes no obvious physical or mental injuries, and does not obviously interfere with anyone's daily social life. Yet it makes an unmistakable noise, causes unmistakable physical and mental damage, and unmistakably interferes with daily social life. It's unmistakable to a trained observer who knows what to look for. The public cannot comprehend this weapon and therefore cannot believe that they are being attacked and subdued by a weapon. The public might instinctively feel that something is wrong. Isn't that the truth? But because of the technical nature of the silent weapon, they cannot express their feeling in a rational way or handle the problem with intelligence. Therefore, they do not know how to cry for help and do not know how to associate with others to defend themselves against it. When a silent weapon is applied gradually, the public adapts to its presence, and learns to tolerate its encroachment on their lives until the pressure, psychological through economic, becomes too great and they crack up. Therefore, the silent weapon is a type of biological warfare. It attacks the vitality, options, and mobility of the individuals of a society by knowing, understanding, manipulating, and attacking their sources of natural and social energy and their physical, mental, and emotional strengths and weaknesses. Theoretical introduction. Give me control over a nation's currency, and I do not care who makes its laws. Meyer Amschel Rothschild. 1743 through 1812, folks. So this man, in the midst of a time that was centuries beyond us, this man was saying even back then, give me control over a nation's currency. That if I can control how they spend their money, where they give their money to, how they give it up, if I control that, I don't care who the lawmakers are. I don't care who the politicians are, who Parliament is, Congress, lawmakers, whatever. If I control the money, please, I control everything. Today, silent weapons technology is an outgrowth excuse me, today's silent weapons technology is an outgrowth of a simple idea discovered, succinctly expressed, and effectively applied by the quoted Mr. Meyer Amschel Rothschild. Mr. Rothschild discovered the missing passive component of an economic theory known as economic inductance. He, of course, did not think of his discovery in these 20th century terms, and to be sure, mathematical analysis had to wait for the second industrial revolution, the rise of the theory of mechanics and electronics, and finally, the invention of the electronic computer before it could be effectively applied in the control of the world economy. General energy concepts. In the study of energy systems, there always appear three elementary concepts. These are potential energy, kinetic energy, and energy dissipation. And corresponding to these concepts, there are three idealized, essentially pure physical counterparts called passive components. In the science of physical mechanics, the phenomenon of potential energy is associated with a physical property called elasticity or stiffness and can be represented by a stretching spring. In electronic science, potential energy is stored in a capacitor instead of a spring. This property is called capacitance instead of elasticity or stiffness. In the science of physical mechanics, the phenomenon of kinetic energy is associated with a physical property called inertia or mass and can be represented by a mass or a flywheel in motion. In electronic science, kinetic energy is stored in an inductor or magnetic field instead of a mass. This property is called inductance instead of inertia. In the science of physical mechanics, the phenomenon of energy dissipation is associated with a physical property called friction or resistance and can be represented by a dashpot or other device which converts system energy into heat. In electronic science, dissipation of energy is performed by an element called either a resistor or conductor, the term resistor being the one generally used to express the concept of friction, and the term conductor being generally used to describe a more ideal device employed to convey electronic energy efficiently from one location to another. Essentially, folks, we naturally are conductors of electric energy. Most times when you're in the car, you're in a carpeted area and you drag your feet across, when you touch something that may have a little bit of metal or maybe some static energy on it, you find yourself being shocked because you're a conductor of electric energy. Essentially, electric synapses, lightning in a bottle pops in our heads and our brains a lot. So we're essentially conductors of electric energy. So when you touch an exposed electric wire and you grab someone else, you can conduct energy through yourself and into them because we are perfect conductors of energy. But if you wear a pair of rubber gloves when you're handling live wires, so if you happen to touch that exposed wire, is a resistor and it will not conduct the energy the way you would if you were barehanded touching that thing. There you go. The property of a resistance or conductor is measured as either resistance or conductance reciprocals. In economics, these three concepts are associated with economic capacitance: capital, money, stock, inventory, investments in buildings, durables, etc. Economic conductance: goods, production of flow coefficients. And economic inductance: services, the influence of the population of industry on output. So basically, folks, economic capacitance, okay, that means, of course, money in general currency. Stock, again, the more money you put into stock, the more valuable it is. They say it's valuable. It's all about these people that's telling you the stock is rising, it's valuable, and you put more money into that stock thinking that you're investing, but it just doesn't matter. One day it could be up, one day it could be down. It's not something that they can predict. It was said in The Wolf of Wall Street. If you didn't get anything important out of The Wolf of Wall Street, folks, get that first conversation between Matthew McConaughey's character and Leonardo DiCaprio, where he tells him it does not matter up or down. This whole thing is fugazi. No one can predict this. No one can predict this whole situation. The thing is, money gets generated into this thing. People keep riding on stocks. The ability to say that I am a part of a company, that's what you're selling people. Bottom line, you're selling people the ability to say, I have stock in Microsoft. I have stock in Lyft. I have stock in Uber. I have stock in Starbucks. You're giving people the ability to say, I have stock in it. You can't predict, you can't guarantee that any of that they're going to make a bunch of money on these stocks. You can't predict any of that. Inventory, and it was inventory, investments, and buildings, durables, and whatnot. That's what capacitance is. Conductance. How does that conduct? How do we keep the flow? How do we keep the positive charge going? By people buying things, saying renting from those buildings. People build up a building and now they have apartments or a hotel. People basically patronize the hotel. They basically rent an apartment, sign a year or two lease, and basically live in the apartment. They of course, as I just mentioned, they get on the stock market thinking they know what they're doing. And they have these brokers that sit around, no matter whether you go with this company or that company, no matter whether you win, no matter whether you gain money or lose money, I still get paid every time you buy a stock. That's what this is. So, and then economic inductance, the services, the lightning rod at which everything flows. The inductance, the services, so the people who ship the products out to the stores, food products to restaurants, furniture, beds, hospitality, people who clean those hotels, who maintenance those apartments, people who have something, a shower that breaks, toilet gets clogged, those people who help those people and keep things going, keep the money flowing. These are these factors that play into the things. Now most likely, at the top of economic capacitance, that's where your wealthy, the 1% are going to be. They're the people who can invest in those buildings, who can have a building built and make it into a parking structure or make it into a high-rise hotel or a corporate building where they rent space out to people who want to run their business out of there. This is what you have here. Then you have the people who have some disposable income and who will go out and buy things and buy products that they may not really need. As we've heard a billion times before, they're buying things that they don't really need. Why are they doing it? So on and so forth. But all the mathematical theory developed in the study of one energy system, mechanics or electronics, etc., can be immediately applied in the study of any other energy system, like economics. So basically, this is what they're saying. So when you talk about energy, how do we harness energy? How, what conducts energy? How can we use that energy to make us money? We can privatize it. We can have these different companies that can, that can charge for energy. We can start to, make, hot water. If you want heat and hot water, we can make that all electric and pay you more money for that. The goods and the production of flow, people who are buying this, who are paying monthly bills for electric service, who are paying monthly bills, and then of course there are the people who will come in and fix any electrical problems that are going on, that will set up the electric service and things like that, who you speak to make payment arrangements with and things of that nature, because you will never speak to the people who run these companies. They have people in the call centers. They have people who come to your house and read your meters and things like that, all for the purpose that you, as the low person on the totem pole, will never speak to this person who runs all of this, who thinks you never get to face this person who thinks that you should have to pay for electricity here. We all use it, we all share, but you should have to pay for it. But, at any rate, Mr. Rothschild's, they're gone. I apologize. Mr. Rothschild's energy discovery. What Mr. Rothschild had discovered was the basic principle of power, influence, and control over people as applied to economics. That principle is, when you assume the appearance of power, people soon give it to you. Do you see what I'm saying? When people decide, when groups and companies decide, you know what? We're gonna take electricity that was discovered naturally by Ben Franklin, right? He just went out there and kite and electricity. We can harness that, but yet somebody said, you know what? We should make people pay for it. Of all the things that we're collecting taxes for and things like that. Excuse me, we'll fly here, but we should make them pay for it. So this is what we're talking about here. Mr. Rothschild had discovered that currency or deposit loan accounts had the required appearance of power that could be used to induce people, inductance with people corresponding to a magnetic field into surrendering their real wealth in exchange for a promise of greater wealth instead of real compensation. They would put up real collateral in exchange for a loan of promissory notes. Mr. Rothschild found that he could issue more notes than he had backing for, so long as he had someone's stock of gold as a persuader to show his customers. Mr. Rothschild loaned his promissory notes to individuals and to governments. These would create overconfidence. Then he would make money scarce, tighten control of the system, and collect the collateral through the obligation of contracts. The cycle was then repeated. These pressures could be used to ignite a war. Then he would control the availability of currency to determine who would win the war. That government, which agreed to give him control of its economic system, got his support. Collection of debts was guaranteed by economic aid to the enemy of the debtor. The profit derived from this economic methodology made Mr. Rothschild all the more able to extend his wealth. He found that the public greed would allow currency to be printed by government order beyond the limits, which is inflation, of backing in precious metal or the production of goods and services, the gross national product. So again, folks, when you think about the debt, when you think about the overall debt that we owe, the markers that are now owned by China and things of this nature, again, folks, 1991. Even before that, this guy was writing this book in the late 80s, folks. You don't obtain information in a book like this in just a year frame time. We're talking about information that applies to today. The gross national product, the debt, everything that's happened right now has happened because we're loaning out money. We're giving our real money towards the promise of wealth, folks. That's what we have done. Investing our money and then giving a sort of, loan, money management, a banker, put your money in the bank here, and, we'll give you this promise, or you'll have this marker on your money. But then I'm sitting out here representing wealth. I'm wealthy. I have this money. I can give you all of this money because I'm loaning people shit now. Give me some collateral. I'll loan you this money. Now you're going to owe me money when you can't pay. I'm going to give you, and it's going to be interest. You're going to pay me back with a certain amount of money. Come on, folks. This is what he's talking about here. This is how people got played. Apparent capital as paper inductor. In this structure, credit presented as a pure element called currency has the appearance of capital, but is in fact negative capital. Hence, it has the appearance of service, but is in fact indebtedness or debt. Folks, just take a moment and take that in. In this structure, credit cards, credit extension, presented as a pure element called currency. You think that card that you have in your hand is currency. It's like money. That's what they tell you. It's like money. Your charge accounts, like money, right? Hence, it has the appearance of service, but is in fact indebtedness or debt. It is therefore an economic inductance instead of an economic capacitance. And if balanced in no other way, will be balanced by the negation of population, war, or genocide. The total goods and services represent real capital called the gross national product, and currency may be printed up to this level and still represent economic capacitance. But currency printed beyond this level is subtractive, represents the introduction of economic inductance, and constitutes notes of indebtedness. War is therefore the balancing of the system by killing the true creditors, the public, which we have taught to exchange true value for inflated currency and falling back on whatever is left of the resources, nature, and regeneration of sources, of those sources. So basically, folks, people are taking the wealthy people are taking your money to create more wealth for themselves. They're loaning things to you. These banks are loaning things to you to start businesses. You're putting collateral on the line instead of getting real compensation for what it is that you're doing. You're getting credit cards and you're paying credit card bills out here. You're going student loans and you're paying interest and debt. It's all debt that you pay back, that you have to pay back over years and years of your life. And then once you cannot pay that back, once they've lent out so much money and played so many games that they can't seem to, they can't seem to reconcile it all. Let's figure out a war to go to. Send some young men and women out there, but around these times before the misogyny and the male chauvinism, supposedly ended. You had young men going out there. Now you have young men and women going out there giving their lives so they can cull the population. Yes, you are being culled like sharks, like alligators, crocodiles, whales, whatever. You're being culled. You're being thinned out, thinned down for the purpose of the resources, the money, and things like that can continue on with less people that have to use it. That's the truth. That's what he was putting in this book a long time ago, folks. And there are people out here who feel more and more now that this is the case. But if you had read this book, you wouldn't have to come and arrive to it now. You have known it well before now. We're going to analyze this book, folks. I thought I might have had to jump to other chapters later on down the line. But again, the genius that is William Cooper, he wrote this book the right way. And maybe I jump a little bit ahead to chapter 3 just to give you that oath, just to give you that quick little oath, because he's taking it step by step. Like, look, this is how everything is structured. And now we take the oath. Because see, now once you take that oath, then we can start going into chapter 4, which is the secret treaty of Verona, precedent and positive proof of conspiracy. Because now you're taking the oath. So now in chapter 4, it's like, hey, look, now we're confirming that there are secret societies. Now we're confirming that there are people with certain interests that do not include the betterment, so what's beneficial or best for the people. So this is what we have going on here. And there will be more of this. This is gonna be a thing that I think should precipitate by getting that book done. I've been talking about getting a book, an unauthorized, I guess, guerrilla warfare type of book about the great William Cooper. A little bit more, because this book, it gave you a little bit in the forward about who he was as far as military experience, man. But what it doesn't tell you, it tells you a little bit about what he suffered. What his family had to suffer. But what we need to tell you is a little bit more of what he predicted, how he's played and figured in so much, how even one time, as they both were on the rise, William Cooper crossed paths with one Alex Jones. Tell you all about that. Even if I could suss up the actual footage that shows you what he had to actually say about that interview itself and how he feels about Alex Jones. People like to call Alex Jones, crazy one now. But at first they were calling William Cooper crazy, drunkard. Even his little minion, even Alex Jones' little minion, Mark Dice, was trying to do that. But one thing that was very clear about William Cooper is that he felt like Alex Jones, for some reason, was trying to send people into a kamikaze type of stunt. Like to get them all riled up and to send them right into a kamikaze stunt. And he felt like he was just, he was an agitator for some weird reason. But, we're going to get more into this, folks. We still have, we say, quite a bit of chapter 1. Let's see. because it's more of a breakdown. It's more of a breakdown here. It gives you some different, well, that have a lot of words still here, but okay. So we definitely have a few more pages to get through before we completely complete chapter 1. But right now, folks, what we have here is many, many chapters and appendixes. But let's just say the chapters stop officially at about chapter 15. Okay, excuse me. Apologize. I said about chapter 15. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but it actually starts at chapter 17. Chapter 17, which ends out with U.S. Army intelligence connection with Satanic Church. Just so you know. This is what we're dealing with there. And then we have several appendixes that has several different information and documentation that shows you, at the very least, folks, let's go ahead and get this out of the way. So in case you haven't seen it, this is William Cooper's actual military record, folks. I've been military myself. Ooh, NSA. Okay. Alrighty, folks. Non-applicable. Okay. Honorable discharge. Okay. Good conduct, medal, period ending. Okay. Alrighty. I mean, gotta tell you, it looks like it checks out here, folks. But again, tricky times. But the 90s, it wasn't a whole lot for that. But if somebody were to discover secret information and secret computers that can do a lot of tricky shit before we even know what it could do, I mean, but this is a service record here, folks. He put it into the back of the book so that you can see. So that you can see exactly who he was, that he's not playing. He also believed that a connection to a youth group is what actually got him into naval intelligence. So just want to try to show you that these are records, officer records, enlisted officer, at the time for William Cooper. So we're going to get more into this, folks. We're going to get through this. And I think in this time frame, we're going to start talking more about the actual unofficial autobiography of William Cooper. I say unofficial because I'm not sure who I would go to say we have, we have your permission. Do we have your permission to actually do this book? I would think that anybody who would know our heart and know that we're about the truth, that know that we're about really trying to, preserve his name and defend his name to people who have attacked him years after his death. That's what this is about. And we shouldn't have any problem. But out of respect, I won't call it official, because, unless I got somebody who's connected to this, to his estate, to say, yes, we totally back this. We totally back the information that's in there and what they're saying. But as of right now, we're still going to analyze this book, this guidebook to conspiracy, this guidebook to corruption, this guidebook to tyranny, this guidebook to navigating in the world as a truth seeker, as an anarchist, whatever, so whatever that breaks you from the norm, that makes you a more fringe person. This book right here that we're going to analyze is a blueprint to it, folks. He's already letting you know right here that your credit ratings, student loans, credit cards, okay? Now all of a sudden you can't even get a house if your credit rating, you can't even get a house or an apartment if your credit rating is not up to par, supposedly. This is what they're doing. They're doing this to affect you. They're doing this to control you. So that, well, what are we going to do now? What do we got to do now? What are we going to do? We got to get a credit card because that'll increase our credit rating, right? We get a credit card, we'll buy something, we'll pay, that'll increase our credit rating until you feel like you need it for emergencies and things like that. And then you really fuck yourself up. Folks, chapter 1 is already showing you right off the bat that he's already shown we don't have to bounce around the different chapters. Chapter 1 is showing you right from the word go that this book is relevant today. Copyright 1991. It is 2019, going into 2020. Okay, folks? We're talking about 9 years. We're talking about 9 years before you get to 2000, and then you're talking about another 19 years, folks. So we're talking about 28 years. Okay? I get that right. Okay, 2000. Oh, yeah, I mean, because it's 9 years. Yeah, it's just 28 years, man. Wow. You almost think sometimes that it could really have been 28 years, but 1990 to 2000, that's 10 years. So that's 10 years. 2000 to 2010, that's 20 years. So 2000 to 2019, 2010 to 2019, that's so basically we're looking at about 28 years. So 28 years later, like it sounds kind of weird, man. I guess being at this point in my life, I have to be honest, like, damn, that's really weird to see like 28 years ago. Like, wow. But yeah, that's definitely what it was. 28 years ago, a book like this is still relevant in today, right now, for people confused and don't know how to figure it out. Like, why is it that way? Why everybody in the area? Why am I in this area? Why are we being looked at and basically processed in this way? Folks, we're gonna get you the answers. This book right here is shown me many times before, but I think like with me trying to really break it down and dissect it and analyze it, I think it's really starting to be obvious that this book has a lot of the answers that we've been seeking with credit, money, your environment. Why is it like this? What are they playing at? I think William Cooper knows what they're playing at, folks. And I think that's why I became more knowledgeable and was able to rise above a little bit as much as I could. Because like he said, even a high level intelligent person that has been set up the way we've been set up will have a hard time making it out here and changing their, their supposed lot in life. Just think about it, folks. Take this information. For those who will look at this video, take a look. Look at this book if you can. Or else just wait till the next episode. I will be doing this episode on Mainframe Media. We're going more back into an anarchist journalist, situation when it comes to Mainframe Media. More interviews, more live features, performances of all types. From hip hop to metal. We're going to look to do performances here. We're going to be talking about real hard-hitting stuff. We're going to be coming from an anarchist journalist perspective. No one is safe. No party lines. No organizational kick-tos. That's why it's tough to be an anarchist, because you have to look at yourself in the mirror and be ready to have somebody pointing at you and calling you out, and you have to defend yourself. So even anarchists know, man, if you're out here bullshitting, somebody's going to call you out. That's the way this works. That's the way we work, folks. So thank you once again. We are back. True Sessions are back. The Cooper Matrix is back. So I don't know, with the True Sessions, we have a pretty big book here. Quite a ways to go. So there are going to be a few Trooper Matrix episodes that will be connected to the True Sessions. But there will be other things that will be other shows and ideas that will be created under the True Sessions moniker. We're going to definitely put that out there and do more things. But as of right now, I'm looking to make some big things happen. So keep up with this, folks. If you can't, get yourself a copy or get online to really check out some of this information. Please wait to the next episode, and we will go more into how all this works. I mean, without me even trying that hard, William Cooper is showing you how this information plays into your everyday life 28 years later. Folks, if you've heard it no other time than right now, tonight, please, folks, stay awake, stay woke, and stay wary, folks. We'll probably be changing this up. Will William Cooper be on the next one? Will his old picture be on the next one? Maybe. Maybe we might have this up. Maybe not. You know, could this be a book that we should put in here? Maybe we should put this in and have that constantly be the thumbnail when we do it. Who knows? But right now, folks, we're going to get back to those blonde terrorists. Those, those superior beings, I guess you could say. Isn't that what they call them? Isn't that what they call them, the superior race? Those blonde terrorists? Let's close out, folks. Question everything.